deposit 320 million tons of gold digging. And you guessed it, everybody want their dibs on it. And the president said the time for Uganda exporting all of their gold is over. With this deposit in Uganda, they have just became one of the wealthiest countries on the planet overnight. You think that, and United States, they were trying to talk about sanctioning them because they don't want to give the United States none. The United States don't want no African country to rise. They finna start a war with Uganda. You know they finna come in and start assassinating people. You know what's finna happen. They not finna have no, and they not in on it. They can't control it. 320 million tons of gold they just found, worth an estimated $12.8 trillion. Do you know what they're thinking about getting their hands on all of that? Kill everybody. They'll unleash hell on earth to keep them people, them black Africans from ever rising. You got one that's creating the TV with no power, a car with no power, one running on water, and now they got gold beyond belief. 300, they said that's the estimated. They say it could be more. $12.8 trillion. That's enough to rebuild an entire country. They're not finna let that happen. You know what's finna happen. Stay tuned for watch this. Watch the oppression of Uganda come up, because they just struck gold, literally.
Alright, Shalom, all praise Bahashim Kakadash, double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Salutations to all the brothers and a few sisters out there. Or to the Israelite foreigners.
Look at how fat he is. Look at how fat.
Sorry about that. Yeah, the seed of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Shalom in the Hebrew, which means peace. Give me a quick show. We already know. We already see it. He already see it. The local nigglets already see it. All right. It's down. Is it? Hey, like the song right now that's playing in the background, the same old thing. Well, we done seen this story before. We're not shocked. All right, showing that the Lord is purposely allowing this man to be known who he is by nature. So the word in the streets is you're gonna find 20 trillion worth of gold. And that goes completely against what the higher ups, the elites of this world would want. So until we're about to see the familiar faces, the familiar characters doing the familiar things that they always do. Alright, recent example. You had the guy that was in who had put a patent on a water pump for cars. So happens that he got caught up in the Buffalo massacre. He got executed. You had a guy who had so happened to make a TV without cords. He accidentally or was taken out. So how much more a country? And then when you you do the history of this damn devil, he's not gonna let this one slide. That's why the Lord gave the characteristics of who to point at to say who's the devil in the world. St. John 10:10, it says, I'm sorry. It says, the thief cometh not but for to steal and to kill and to destroy. So when a thief comes, he don't come to pat you in the back and rock you to sleep. No, he comes to take your shit. And if you bold enough, he's gonna take your life. This is not talking about your average thief that goes into somebody's home and that's no. We're talking about a major thief, someone who steals identities, who steals continents, who steals resources, who steals land. All right, that's who the Lord is talking about. And there's only one characteristic on the planet Earth that is known for doing these things. Okay? Matter of fact, let me see. I want to make this short, but Job 30, and I'll start at 1. The point is coming down, but it says, but now they that are younger than I have me in derision. And what did Job meant by that, by these particular characters? Because these same characters that we see, these white leopards, or these clean leopards, that's out there, that's running the world, they came from the same black man and black woman. Well, that's what the world would say, Isaac and Rebecca. Okay, they came from the same bloodline, but the Lord, like it says in the Apocrypha, He put past them. All right. There wasn't that chosen line. And what does it mean by younger? Even though Esau was born he was the firstborn. They're lesser, and they are lesser. They're the lessest people on the planet Earth. It says, "Whose fathers I wouldn't have the disdain to have them set with the dogs of my flock." Because why? They're known for committing the bestiality. Okay, that's what they're known for. Yeah. Whereto might the strength of their hands profit me, and whom old age was perish? From want and famine they were solitary, fleeing into the wilderness in the former time desolate and waste. Who cut up mellows by the bushes and juniper roots for their meat, meaning they'll eat anything. And when you look at the what they'll consider to be the caveman, that's who they were. When men were upright, was dressed, when men had beard, when men controlled society, who knew how to brush their teeth, who had an aqueduct, who had to take a shower properly. These people were still in the caveman mentality, because that's who they are. They'll eat, I don't got the book, but it was a 13 tribe, I believe. And the guy stated, maybe it wasn't the 13th tribe, but one of the books stated that they would eat out of their grandmother's skull. They wear their garments, their underwear, until it fizzle out. All right? They'll pluck the lights off of each other. That's the mindset of Esau. That's how he always been. The only difference now is that the Lord took him from the base state and gave him a suit and tie. Okay? And he shaves his beard. He speaks what we consider to be proper, because he was taught by us. But now he's looking at us like we're nothing. Okay? They're the ones that would put anything in their goddamn mouth, and they still show that caveman attributes. But this is not the point. It said they were driven forth from among men. They cried after them as after a thief. So there you go. The characteristics of these people by nature are thieves. And you don't believe? This is the very next verse. It said, to dwell in the clefts of the valleys and caves of the earth and the rocks. It says, among the bushes they braid, under the nettles they are gathered together. They are children of fools, yea, children of base men. They are violent in the earth. So it gave you a clue who they were. Cave dwellers, Caucasians. And that's all they know for doing, taking what's not theirs. So have you seen this storyline before? That a country finding their riches, and all of a sudden, this time we have internet. In the past, we didn't have faster news. You had newspapers. People had to do researches. They had to dig in. A lot of news articles and newspaper reporters were bought and sold. They won't tell you what's going on. All right. Hey, that was just in the middle time. But before all that, matter of fact, we can get to the good Psalms 55? Yeah. Psalms 55 and 20 says, He hath put forth his hands against such as be at peace with him. He hath broken the covenant. The words of his mouth is smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. His words were softer than oil, yet were they drawn swords. And that's the characteristics of Esau. A thief, a murderer, alright? Somebody that would just cutthroat you by any means. Isaiah 10, I'm going to the point. Actually, it's 13. Matter of fact, I'll start at 12. Isaiah 10 and 12. It says, Wherefore shall it come to pass that the Lord would when the Lord hath performed his whole work upon Mount Zion, on Jerusalem. Who's Jerusalem? Israel. You Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. Alright? And now what was that work? These nations taking us down. That was that work. Okay? That's a work that how would the Lord take a base man, a man that ain't know no language, no anything, and he will use that same buffoon that had no language or eat anything, that was molesting animals, and put him in a power position. That's a marvelous work right there. Okay? Only God could do something like that. And that's what he did. But there was a reason why the Most High is using him. Because it says Psalm 17 and 13. That's the Lord's whipping stick. Okay? Now, when this thing goes nuclear, go crazy, and they steal the things that they steal, we're going to understand why the Lord's going to allow it. It says, I will punish the fruit of the stout of the heart of the king of Assyria, the glory of his high looks. And that's talking about Esau, the glory of his high looks. It says, for he hath said, by the strength of my hand have I done it, by my wisdom, for I am prudent, I have removed the bounds of the people, I have robbed their treasures. There's that word again. Alright? They robbed, thieves. I have put down the inhabitants like a violent man. So, after 1492, this man has rampage and ravage and rape all over the planet Earth. Alright, they came under the guise of the British, the Dutch, the Spaniards, alright, or the Spanish, the Portuguese, the French. Who else? Who else I'm gonna forget? Of course, obviously the Americans. But they went around the world and they stole everything that they have. Everything. And it says, in my hand have found as a nest the riches of the people, and has gathered eggs that are left. I have gathered all the earth, and there was none that moved the wing or opened the mouth or peeped, meaning no resistance. But now, like it says Joel, the 3rd chapter, the weak is saying they're strong. Now, countries are aligning themselves to go against the idea of Babylon, which is America. Alright? And they're taking sides, either Russia or Babylon. So now they can resist these devils from allowing them to do what they do best. But is that going to stop them to do what they do? No. That's why there is going to be a World War III. World War III this is going to take place for everything and everyone under the sun to get involved with. Uganda has now punched a ticket into a war to end all wars. Because believe it or not, wars are funded by riches. And they have the biggest riches on the planet Earth right now. And they could fund their own army. But it's just a matter of time before somebody else steals it from them. And that somebody else is the same goddamn character that always steals. Matter of fact, hold on. I know it's in Isaiah. I can't remember. Crimson. That's it. Okay. Crimson. No. I gotta look it up. And matter of fact, was it Slovakia? We look it up. You know the term red-handed?
Fat he is. He's so fat.
Let's see, Crimson. Crimson, a rich, deep color inclining to purple. Let's see what they got it. Not what I was looking for, but it's good. It's good to know. But that's the characteristics of Crimson is a criminal called red-handed. Anyway, let me get to the other one. I guess I'm gonna make this short. Job 20. And I'll start at 9. No, I'm sorry. Job 20 and 11. His bones are full of sin of his youth, which shall lie down with him in the dust, which is talking about his witchcraft. Alright? Those are the sin of his youth, because he's inclined to the left hand side of the Most High, of the force, so to speak. He's the wicked from the time of Cain until now, which now he have perfected his wickedness to be able to mass scale and fool everybody. We gotta understand, this is not an isolated situation. This is a worldwide event. That's what the scripture says in Revelations 20:7. They went out to go 28 actually, to go deceive the whole world. All right. So it says, his bones are full of his sin of his youth, which shall lie down with him in the dust. Though his wickedness be sweet in his mouth, though he hide it under his tongue, though he spare it and forsake it not, but keep it still within his mouth. Yet his meat and his bowels is turned, it is a gall of ass within him. It's poisonous. He hath swallowed down riches and shall vomit them up again. So the Lord may allow this man to actually swallow down those riches as well. Because the elites, like it says in James the 5th chapter, won't go now to you rich man, weep and howl for your misery has come. Because they're gathering all the riches of the planet Earth to themselves. But they fail to understand all those riches that they're gathering is not for their own personal use, it's for us. Alright? They're just collecting for us. There's nothing worse than when you collecting for all that laborious work. And the scriptures does say that. All that laborious work that you're doing, and you do not enjoy the fruits of the labor that you have accomplished. Well, according to the scriptures, this man is not going to enjoy that labor that he have worked so hard for. He's about to swallow it up. Well, he's about to vomit it up. And vomiting is not a voluntary event. It's a forceful event. So all the riches that this man has gotten and still are getting right now, because he's about to go to war with this land. Well, he's gonna find some way to get his grubby, filthy red hands into it. One way or another, he's gonna vomit it all up. Thus saith the scriptures. It says the Most High shall cast them out of his belly. So he's gonna puke out all those riches, man. He shall suck the poison of ass, the viper's tongue shall slay him. He shall not see the rivers of the floods of the brook of honey and butter. So all this, what the elites is trying to accomplish, they're not going to accomplish their great work. That which he labored for shall he restore. So you give the technology to these other nations. You even have the HARP program, which is a technology that's beyond your means, that could detect precious metals all over the world. That's why they've allowed Haiti to get rocked with that 8 8.1 earthquake, or 8.2, something like that. And they found riches there, which they knew that, because according to the HARP program, once you start signal down to a land, it bounces back and tells you what the land has. Okay? So ever since then, it has always been occupy Haiti, occupy this land, occupy that land. Okay? And then what they've done is stole those people's riches. All these natural resources that these countries have, and yet these countries are poor, dirt poor. It makes no goddamn sense. Alright? It makes no sense. So is that what he labored for? So that's why he's laboring for the riches. His new world order. Alright? For shall he restore? So he's going to restore it how? We're going to take it from him. Alright? All that is going to be taken from him, and shall not swallow it down. According to his substance shall the restitution be. So, according to the scriptures, the land of Israel, the kingdom of heaven, I was just reading it last night, Revelation 20th chapter, that the walls full of gold and precious stones, that the streets full of gold. Where are these golds going to be coming from? Thank you, Esau, for all that hard work, because you're going to restore everything you stole and then some. All right. It says, and shall not rejoice therein. So if he goes to war with Uganda, or find a way to try to steal all that resource, because if Uganda's smart, they should have kept their mouth shut, like the brother said. But that's for public news for us to really see what's going to happen. All right. And we already seen this film before. We've seen it plenty of times. Matter of fact, there's a little bit more here, and then I'm going to get to the next scripture, next precept, and I'm going to end it off. It says, because ye have pressed and forsaken the poor, because he have violently taken away in the house which he buildeth not. So that's the characteristics of Esau. He's a thief, a rapist, and a robber, which goes back to what? His blessing. Genesis 27 and 40. It says, and by thy sword shalt thou live. Matter of fact, 39. And Isaac his father answered and said unto him, behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth, which is what? The good parts of the earth. So this man was going to have, according to his blessing, he's going to have a time to rule certain places. But how was he going to get all those things? And the dew of heaven from above. And by thy sword shall I live. So by the sword this man lived. And by the sword he shall die. Alright? That's what matter of fact, I'm going to end it off on this. Isaiah 14. Actually, I was thinking the whole chapter is bad. That is funny. Nah, the 4th verse, it says, that thou shalt take this proverb against the king of Babylon, Esau, Edom, and say, how the oppressor cease. We just read that he oppresses, right? So that's going to cease. It's come to an end. And the golden city cease. And I find that funny because America is not a land filled with gold. It's just an expression of the riches that they have gotten throughout the years. But it says the Hebrew word is madab, mad haba, boisterous, raging, behavior, boisterous behavior. So let's look this word up. It's pretty dumb. Let's Google that. Let's Google that right there.
Boisterous.
All right, boisterous, noisy, energetic, cheerful, rowdy. Keep that in mind. So they rowdy, right? Second one says go to city, extract of gold. All right, it says perhaps from the equivalent of gold making, that is an exact gold city, which America is not the gold of a city of worth gold, but it acts that. That's why the scripture says about they live deliciously. All right. Matter of fact, I know I was supposed to end it, but Revelations 18:4. 7. How much she have glorified herself and lived deliciously. So much torment and sorrows give her. For she has said in her heart, I sit a queen. I am no widow, and shall see no sorrow. Right? Therefore shall her plague come in one day, death, mourning, and famine, and she shall be utterly burnt with fire. For strong is the Lord, Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahshua, who judgeth her. Talking about America. Here it is. It says, let me see. I just want to. Yeah, it's 12th verse actually. But you know what? For the context of everything, we read on. It says, therefore shall 9. The kings of the earth who have committed fornication. So all these kings, all these nations had agreement one way or another, a business deal with this godforsaken place. Read Revelation 17 chapter tells you that. All right. And lived deliciously with her. Meaning what? They all had business deals. That's why was it Lebanon? Which according to, I think I'm gonna have to put that in this as well. According to a General Wesley something, that America had a list of 7 countries that was going to take down within years, and the first place was Afghanistan and Iraq. Then it was going to go for Libya, Syria. At the end, it was going to be Iran. But to Libya, remember Gaddafi, their former president, was going to trade with gold, all right, with the African nations. They didn't want to have that. So what happened? They overthrew that government, overthrew him. Iraq was going to trade in euros instead of the US dollar. What happened? They took down the president. Venezuela, Hugo Chavez wanted his gold back. As soon as he made mention of that, Hugo Chavez mysteriously caught cancer and died. And Maduro, who was the president, the Swiss, I believe it was the Bank of England, for their gold back. And what ended up happening? It was a major coup. Well, they tried to attempt, okay, but all these other nations lived deliciously at one period of time, with America. It says, shall bemoan her and lament for her, when it shall see the smoke of her burning. When the destruction comes, they're going to mourn. It says, standing afar off, the fear of her torment, saying, alas, alas, that great city Babylon, that mighty city, for in 1 hour is thy judgment come. For the merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn over her, for no man buyeth their merchandise anymore. So the trade, the seaports, they're no longer going to be able to make millions upon trillions, well, billions of dollars worth of inventory, because this land is no longer going to be in service, no longer buying their goods. All right. It says the merchants of gold and silver and precious stones and pearls and fine linen, purple and silk and scarlet and all fine wood and all manner of vessels, ivory and all manner of vessels of most precious wood, of brass and iron and marble. But the key was what? Gold. All right. And gold is always a hot commodity, especially in this land. So no longer will this place will be receiving any more gold, because this place is going to be destroyed. Showing that America always took the pieces of the pie from all these other nations. All right. That's the proof that they still receive gold and all sorts of resources for what their fiat currency, they exchange, which their fiat currency is not worth shit. Okay, so no longer this is once America is destroyed, nobody's gonna be able to make those trades. But going back to Isaiah 14, Slakias. It says, the Lord hath broken the staff of the wicked and the scepter of the ruler. He who smote the people with continuing stroke. He hath ruled the nations in anger and is persecuted, and none hindereth. So that's the future. That's the prophecy of the future. All right? Nobody's going to stand up for this man. Because what? I'm going to just jump down. Like I said, the whole chapter is bad, but because the man has said something, and here it is. It says, verse 17. I'm sorry, 16. They that see thee shall narrowly look upon thee and consider thee, saying, is this the man that made the earth to tremble, that shake kingdoms, that made the world as a wilderness and destroyed the cities thereof? And how did he do it? By his war, by any means necessary, either by thieving, which that was his number one attribute, but ultimately by his sword. All right. So in the kingdom, the nation is gonna look at you like the piece of shit that you are, like, and be as shocked and stunned, like, yo, you, out of all people. All right. And that's why everybody knows America's MO. They know this Uganda thing is not going to go away. Within a couple of months, when everybody's distracted because they're suffering in America, they're going to find a way to get into that thing, or attempt to, all right, and try to go to war there. Unless Uganda makes an agreement with Russia, which most likely they will, and all hell is going to be broken loose. So that being said, shalom to the elect in the nation of Israel. Shalom.